And as far as the end user is concerned, what we are is basically a platform that enables cross-chain transactions in a very seamless, smooth, and user-friendly. We really, okay, currently the situation with the cross-chain transactions is that it is very complex and it is very slow as well as costly for the end user as such. So whether you are a new user, a retail user, or a institutional user, or an experienced user, the processes that need to be followed, the user experience that is given to the end user is highly complicated for cross-chain transactions. So at the end of the day, if you just can imagine, as far as DeFi is concerned, the primary aim of any DeFi user, whether you are new or old, is to basically maximize your earnings. So the user basically is always looking to maximize his earnings, either through trading or swapping or staking or yield farming or lending. So at the end of the day, the user is always looking to maximize his yields. So that is his only intention. So for example, with the lot of blockchains coming up over the last couple of years, the opportunities for such maximizing yield has become manifold than because previously they had very limited opportunities within Ethereum and Polygon. But now with the new blockchains like Aptos, Solana, and Sui and others coming up, the opportunities have become manifold actually. But at the end of the day, these opportunities are still very much limited to experienced users or institutional users only. The reason being that, again, even if I, as a user, find an opportunity in a different network, for me to grab that opportunity to maximize my yield is a very complicated process. Like for example, just to give an example, say I have a token on Solana. Like for example, I have a serum token on Solana, but I see that staking Aptos gives me a better yield actually, and a better opportunity for me to maximize my earnings. But for me to do this process as a user, so I have to basically swap the serum token or the radium token into a more bigger token like the Sol token, for example, because all tokens cannot be bridged easily across all networks. Then I have to find a bridge to basically take this token and push it on to Aptos. And then finally, I need to stake the Aptos token as such. So far in this entire process, at each stage of the process, I have to pay the fees. I have to waste my time spending because each of these processes take different amounts of time. They cost a lot as well, and the user experience is also very complex because I have to interact with 3 or 4 platforms in this process. So and then I have to sign the transactions using one wallet on Solana, and you again sign the transactions on another wallet on Aptos. So it's a very complicated process. So what we are doing is that we are trying to reduce this entire thing into in a way such that the user, any user for that matter, will be able to achieve any kind of cross-chain transaction, whether it is swapping, staking, yield generation, any kind of transaction within a matter of couple of clicks as such. So that is the ease of the platform that we are trying to build.
Nice. Yeah, definitely feel you on the pain of doing transactions, especially across different blockchains. And what I like to see about your product is that you can actually go between Aptos and Solana as well. So folks that want to swap, for example, an Aptos coin for a Solana coin, they can do so relatively easily, as I see through your platform. Um, that's
Right.
awesome to hear. So, would be great to learn more about how, lifting the hood of the engine and seeing how it works under the hood. So, as I understand, you're building on top of existing protocols, like for example, Liquidswap to do swaps within Aptos. and potentially something like Orca on Solana to do swaps within Solana. So yeah, kind of curious to hear more about how that works and how you're leveraging other protocols.
Okay. Okay, so basically what we are doing is that at the core of this entire platform is a network of aggregated bridges as such. So we are basically aggregating multiple bridges because for a cross-chain transaction at this point of time, the bridges are the best bet. So we have already integrated and aggregated wormhole. We are currently doing it on layer 0. Then we will also be aggregating, adding on to this layer, we will also be adding other bridges like Seller Network, XLR, and other proprietary bridges that are used for specific blockchain networks. So this will form the core layer. And on top of this, we are basically integrating different blockchain networks. So currently we have integrated Aptos and Solana. We will be expanding into EVMs very shortly. So like currently we are working on Polygon, integrating Polygon as well. And then we will also be moving on to SUI and other non-EVMs as well. So on top of this layer of aggregated bridges, we are integrating all these networks so that any cross-chain transaction across any two networks, it will be using our smart routing algorithm. The transaction will be pushed through in the fastest manner possible at the lowest cost as well. So basically, that's what aggregation does. So by doing this aggregation, we will be able to push the transaction across multiple networks in the fastest manner possible at the lowest cost as well in real time basically. So that is what it does. And on the different networks, we will be working with different aggregators that are already existing. Like for example, on Solana, we are already working with Jupiter. And on the EVM side, we are already working with 1inch. On Aptos, we have our own aggregator. So basically, the idea is to give the cheapest, best rates and the cheapest prices for the end user, irrespective of whether we are aggregating it on our own or through our partners on different networks.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess is there any reason why a user would not use something like the Kana app for aggregation? Like, are there any I mean, this sounds almost like too good to be true, right? I guess are there any like added costs to using an aggregator, or how does that work?
I do not. Okay, added cost there will be definitely fees charged by different parties at different points of time. Like for example, our third party, we deal with a lot of third party platforms like Wormhole or Layer Zero and bridges like that. So if they are going to charge, then we'll have to pay those charges. But on this, and for example, if you work with Jupiter at this point of time, Jupiter does not charge. If you were, and we work with 1inches as well. So if these third-party platforms choose to do basically charge fees, we will have to charge those fees. But so far, as you would know, we are the first team to perform a cross-chain transaction between Aptos and Solana, and we have found the cost to be much lesser and the speeds to be much faster than what was expected by the bridges themselves. In fact, the cost is probably less than $1 for a cross-chain transaction, and the transaction happens within a matter of 30 to 40 seconds.
Oh wow, that's crazy. How are you able to achieve it faster than going directly through the bridge interface? Is it just that you're connecting directly, I guess, to the back end of the bridges as opposed to these interfaces having some intermediary?
Yes, that is one of the reasons. And the second reason is obviously that once we start aggregating more and more bridges, the prices are going to get better. The speeds are also going to get better because the routing algorithm will always choose the best prices and the best speeds in real time, basically. So certain because all the bridges do not work the same way at all times across all networks. So for example, just by using, for example, wormhole, some transactions 80% of the time it completes within 30 to 40 seconds, but 20% of the transactions take more than 2 to 3 minutes, in fact. So by aggregating different bridges, now then the user will the platform will now have a choice. The algorithm will now have a choice to basically look at what is the best speed that can be achieved across which bridge, and basically route the transaction to that specific bridge in real time, so that always the best speeds are achieved as such.
Okay, I see. So, for example, if I want to buy Solana with Aptos, it might swap first into like a USDC, and then you're saying like the algorithm would look to see whether it's better to go through layer zero or wormhole USDC, and then bridging that over and
Exactly.
swapping that, and then based on where the best rates are, where there's minimum slippage, that person looking to swap Aptos for APT for Sol will be able to get it at the best possible. They don't. It doesn't matter or care which intermediary it's using, like which assets or which bridge.
Exactly. Exactly, because at the end of the day, if you just can imagine, the user is just interested in doing a swap and basically increasing his yields. He doesn't care whether he uses layer zero or Axelar or wormhole or whatever it is, and whether a swap happens or whether it gets changed to USDC or whatever. So basically the user doesn't care about all that. He's always looking to make quick transactions in a very safe and decentralized manner, so that it is easy for him.
Wow, great. Yeah, this is a great application. I mean, it makes total sense to just have this be a front end or an aggregate front end. I guess thinking for our own products, it would be awesome, to get this integrated, for example, on uh, the wallet or even our front end, as people want to swap directly from Solana into Aptos. So yeah, that's definitely something we should explore. If you could open source your front end so that we could also integrate it into our existing front ends, that would be awesome.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh, Great. Yeah. So maybe you can share with us a little bit about what are some of the features that you look forward to integrating. Looking forward, you mentioned EVM code or EVM platforms like Polygon. Um, yeah, kind of curious to hear what your roadmap looks like as you look to integrate these.
Okay. Okay, so for the next few months, as you rightly said, our initial focus, probably within the next 10 days, we should be on to Polygon as well. And then that opens up all the EVMs to us basically. And since they all share the same architecture, it will be very easy for us to integrate many of the EVM networks. We are also working on pushing into SUI as well as Tron as well. So Tron has its own bridge. It doesn't. The bigger bridges don't support Tron, so they have their own bridge. So we are working with them on integrating Tron as well as SUI as well over the next few months. That is one part of our what we are working on. The other part is working with partners like, as you rightly said, like Pontem, Future, Martian, and yield farming protocols like Sate Finance, whom I guess you are inviting a couple of days later from now. So we are working with partners like these platforms, so that they can integrate on top of us. They can make use of our backend engine through our SDK, and basically enable cross-chain transactions within their respective platforms. That is another aspect. And what we are also working on is something new, which probably will get released in the coming months. Is that this is with the response to staking as well as yield walls as well. So currently, if you want to stake at this point of time, you can stake only on the same network, and you can stake only the native token as such. Now we are taking it a step further. We are trying to take it a step further, wherein irrespective of the token that the user has, he will be able to stake that specific token on any network that he chooses to. So for example, again, coming back to my original example, I have, say, the Serum token on, or the Radium token on Solana. And I see that Aptos token on Aptos is giving me a better yield. Or right now, if you notice on the Ethereum side, if you stake Ethereum, you will be getting only around 4.5% or 5%. Whereas if you stake Aptos, you get 7%. And if you stake Solana, you get 8.3% or something like that. So as a user, I want to try it out. But I have, say, for example, I have only the Radium token. So I simply come to the platform and say that I want to stake on Aptos because it gives me a better yield. Okay, so what happens is that we basically take their token that they have, let's say the Radium token on Solana, and we basically do everything in the backend so that it is converted to an equivalent Aptos token and staked on Aptos. And if they, in this, we work with the different liquid staking protocols on Aptos. So if they want to unstake, we basically do the reverse process and give it back, give back the say the Radium token back to the user along with the staked amount that has been that has been generated by the liquid protocol as such, the liquid staking protocol. So this is something that we are working on at this point of time. And the same logic will apply to the yield words as well. So user has any token on any network, he should be able to deposit or deposit it or invest it in a yield vault in any other network actually. So, and with everything else being taken care of in the backend. So that is the logic that we are working on at this point of time. We should be getting the releases scheduled over the coming weeks.
Nice. So, if I understand it correctly, it would swap and then stake. Like if I have, let's say, Solana and I want to
Exactly.
stake Aptos, it would swap the Solana into Aptos, stake it, and then if I want to do the reverse, it would unstake and then swap back to Solana. Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
that's definitely a great feature. It looks like you're, yeah, essentially making the, as you mentioned earlier, making the user experience for a lot of these complex protocols just super, super simple, and then giving the user choice of where they want to go through. For those, yeah, for those
Yes.
following on YouTube, on the app, just playing around with, doing a swap from Aptos into Sol, and you can see there the route. So it would go various exchanges, and then the bridge here being wormhole, and then swap again on Solana once you get there too. So yeah, very cool. This is a great product. Maybe you can share with us some of your user traction adoption numbers, and then also we can see how we can help get this into the hands of more folks.
Definitely. Definitely. We will be working on that. Actually. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess what are some of like the user metrics you're seeing? So like active addresses transacting, or trading volumes that you're seeing on Aptos and Solana.
Yes. Yeah. So we launched around 5 to 6 weeks back, if I remember correctly. And to be very frank, the volumes on Solana have been pretty low, which I guess at the end of the day is pretty understandable for all the news that is coming out of the Solana network and the state of the DeFi on Solana. I think it makes sense for us. But Aptos has been much better. We have been doing, as far as the volumes are concerned, we have been doing around 250,000 per day actually. For now, we have only enabled swap, as you would be able to see. So just the same chain swaps on Aptos. We have been doing around 150 to 250K per day as such. And cross-chain transactions have also been happening. People have been trying it out from what we see. But the number of cross-chain transactions is probably around 10 to 15 per day at this point of time, which is again understandable because this is something new, something different, something that takes 40, 50 seconds. So not many people are willing to give it a try at this point of time, but we expect it to pick up. But one surprising metric that we are seeing, which we did not expect at least, is that when we launched our cross-chain between Aptos and Solana, we thought there would be the most of the transactions for cross-chain would happen from Solana to Aptos actually. Basically people trying to exit Solana or trying to get better yields, move on to better platforms on Aptos assets. But what we are seeing is the reverse, with around 70% of the cross-chain transactions happening from Aptos to Solana actually, which is something quite surprising for us so far. But still, it is very early days. I don't think we can make any judgments at this point of time, but we
Yeah,
will
that's
see.
definitely pretty interesting. The one once you launch EVM that I think would probably be really popular might be a swap from Ethereum over to Aptos, like people that just have ETH and want to swap
Yes.
directly into Aptos instead of going through the bridge and then manually swapping.
Yes, yes. The liquidity obviously is at this point of time is in the EVMs. That is pretty obvious, I guess. We wanted to tackle the non-EVMs first because they are the more complex part of things. So we just wanted to make sure that we were able to achieve what we wanted to do, more as a challenge kind of thing to do between two non-EVMs. But once we get into Polygon, Ethereum, I think that's where the larger liquidity is
Yeah,
going.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, the main use case we're seeing on Liquidswap is people bridging over and then immediately swapping into Aptos. So if that could be done with less clicks through something like the aggregator, I'm sure that would be a
Right.
pretty popular feature. Yeah, excited for that. Excited for that to come on board as well.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, that's that's super great. Maybe moving into less technical. Kind of curious to hear your story and how you got into crypto, and what excites you about the space now that you're in it.
Okay. So myself and my co-founder each have around 20 years of experience in fintech. We have worked in the insurance domain, forex brokerage domain, as well as stock broking domain as well over the last 15 years or so. My co-founder was one of the earliest Ethereum developers from India, way back in 2014-15, and he was the one who basically made me quit my job in my previous company, and we started our own company in around 2015 or so. We were initially a blockchain services company because my co-founder felt very strongly about blockchain at that point of time. He was very convinced that it was going to grow in the coming years. So we started out as a blockchain services company, and we serviced a lot of projects, delivered a lot of projects for our clients in the US, UK, Australia, etc. And it was only last year that we decided to build our own product, which we started doing on Solana initially, and then later on expanded it onto Aptos as well.
Yeah, it's good to hear. And I guess what first initially drove you to move from fintech into crypto? Seems like a really big step, but also seems like a natural transition. So kind of curious to hear how that transition happened.
Yeah, actually, strangely, we weren't, unlike most other people out there, we weren't drawn in by the crypto trading or anything of that sort because we were already quite well experienced in stock trading as well as forex trading. So crypto trading at that point of time wasn't very attractive to us actually. But what drew us, as I told you, especially what drew in my co-founder, who was the bigger fan of crypto and blockchain, is the fact that it was everything was open sourced and decentralized. He's a very big fan of open sourcing, so much that he always, over the past 20 years, ever since he started doing development, he always insisted on using a Unix machine rather than any of the Windows machines. So that is his kind of love for open sourcing and decentralization. So he was so when something like blockchain, Ethereum blockchain came along, which was all about decentralization and open sourcing. He basically loved the concepts behind that, and that was the one which drew him into that. And then once he was fully drawn into Ethereum, he basically convinced me to follow suit as well, which I did promptly, to be honest.
Nice, yeah. Seems like a natural. Definitely seems like a natural transition to go from trading, forex and all these other assets into crypto. I guess what has been the biggest surprise or biggest thing that has maybe pleasantly and unpleasantly surprised you about crypto?
I would probably touch because there are a lot of nice things about to say about crypto. But being in a bear market right now with all these situations about FTX and other similar platforms, what I find not so nice about crypto, to be honest, is the fact that wherever crypto begins to grow, whether it is in the Western countries or Asian countries or wherever it is, we always notice a trend wherein the owners of or the founders of centralized platforms rush in to basically take center stage. Whereas blockchain and Web3 is all about decentralization. We always see that the leaders of the Web3, whichever part of the world it is, they are always the founders of centralized platforms. Let it be Coinbase or let it be FTX, let it be Binance, they are considered to be the larger leaders because they are the ones who, we are seeing that trend in India as well, where we are, wherein the leaders of the founders of centralized platforms rush in to take control of the messaging for the Web3 ecosystem in that region, basically, which I believe is one of the primary reasons why users as well as the entire ecosystem gets misled in many times actually, which we have been seeing over the last few years.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, and this I think crypto gives people an opportunity to have more ownership and stake in some of these platforms. Um, so yeah, kind of curious to hear what I guess maybe taking back to the product, what your roadmap looks like for this decentralization, how Kana is going to operate long term, what the business model is, and whether you have plans for releasing a token to go along with that.
Yes, so we totally believe in DeFi as such and decentralization as such, but we are also want to be practical because at the end of the day, we are running a business, we are running a company, we are running a platform. So we are very so for us, though we want to be decentralized, totally decentralized as much as possible. We also understand that total decentralization may not be possible for at least the next 10 to 15 years as such. That's how we see it basically. So it is going to be more about regulation of this space, both self-regulation as well as regulation from the different regulators and governments around the world. So we are basically trying to prepare ourselves for that. We were for example, in our country itself, we work with the government in trying to come up with policies and frameworks for Web3 and blockchain. So because we understand that the governments in whichever part of the world they are in will not be ready to lose control over finance within the next few years at least, actually. So we are trying to work together with the government in framing getting the different policies framed in such a manner that we can continue to remain as decentralized as it is possible under the current conditions as such. So that is one of the things that we are working on for the near future at least. And as far as your question about tokens, yes, we will be releasing our own tokens over the next few months. We expect it to be done within the first half of 2023. So yes, that is something that is in the pipeline
Nice.
as well.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Making sure that adhering to local jurisdiction laws on how you monetize. Yeah, if you want to share or make it available, how the token will play into the ecosystem that you're creating.
Right. Okay. So basically, we have so far identified three important use cases for our tokens. The first is obviously the governance that will come along with the tokens as such. The other interesting thing that we are trying to bring in is that we are trying to bring in a staking mechanism for our token, and we are also planning to give out 15 to 20% of our profits as monthly dividends to those who basically stake our tokens as such. This is a kind of reward that we plan to give out to people who believe in us and our tokens. And it will also work in such a way that those who have our tokens would basically also be tied to our platform, in the sense that they would be tied to the success of the platform, because the more the revenue the platform makes, the more dividends that they are going to get in return. So we will be paying out these dividends in the form of stable coins at the end of every month, and this will be given to those who stake our tokens as such. And the final use case of our tokens would be that all the token holders would be getting a discount in any of the transaction fees that we will be charging as
Okay, that
such.
makes sense. So yeah, in the future there will be transaction fees, and part of those fees will go back to token holders, and also token holders will be able to get discounts on the platform on those transaction fees.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess any governance as well for or any parameters that the token holders will be able to set, like for example what the fees are.
Yes, basically we want to transition the most of the major decisions back to the token holders as such, because at the end of the day, that is how it is supposed to work. We basically come from a very old school kind of financial environment, and we wanted to operate just like how a public company would operate. So all the just like how the shareholders of a public company would have a say in any of the major decisions, we want the token holders to also have a say in our major decisions, which would obviously include the transaction fees and how it should operate, whether we need to make any of the major partnerships that we are looking to make, whether they should be whether we should go ahead with them, what are the different networks that we should be launching on, these kinds of
Cool. Yeah,
decisions.
that definitely makes sense. Awesome. I also see on your website that you have an app or a mobile and desktop app. Do you want to share more about that as well?
Yeah, the web app is what we have at this point of time, and that is our focus at this point of time. The mobile app is a very basic and beta version that we just wanted to give it a try. It is not a fully completed version as such. But yes, that is something that is in the roadmap, in the pipeline, wherein all the functionalities that you will be seeing on the web app will also be replicated as a mobile app as well, on Play Store as well as iOS as well. So basically, any kind of cross-chain swaps, cross-chain staking, cross-chain yield vaults, all this would be available on the mobile app as well, so that the users will be able to do any of these cross-chain activities as such. But again, to be very open with you, the kinds of policies that Apple and Google have, we do not know how much of these would be achievable in the mobile app, because they keep changing their policies and it is quite random at this point of time. Because for example, I'm hearing from a lot of wallets that Apple does not allow listing of NFTs or even showing NFTs within the app, the wallet apps as such. Coinbase has already complained, and it's not just Coinbase. I hear it from a lot of other wallet apps as well, that Apple simply blocks all those apps that do not, that basically show NFTs, if they do not allow for payments through Apple Pay as such. So we do not know what kind of policies are going to come up in the future with, around Apple Store, Apple iOS Store, and App and Play Store. So the mobile app would have to wait, and we have to design our strategy accordingly.
Yeah,
Actually.
it definitely seems difficult given their policies. I guess the good news recently that came out was that they're going to allow for side loading on the iPhone, so you can like yeah, bypass the
Oh,
App Store in the
okay.
future. At least seems like in Europe they've
I see.
forcing it.
Okay, okay, that's a good thing. Hopefully, it comes through.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Cool. Yeah, that sounds good, and also potentially an opportunity for us to collaborate as we're looking to essentially integrate applications like these into our wallet directly. You might have seen that NFT trading is live
Mhm,
now, and we're also working on others. So, yeah, potentially it could be a good
mhm.
collaboration as well to get your app embedded into our Chrome extension, and in the future, if possible, if Apple the Apple lords allow it into the mobile app as well.
Yes, actually, we have a very close and very good relationship with Pontem, because ever since, I think Pontem was one of the first teams that we met with when we came on to Aptos as such, and Pontem has been very supportive of whatever we have been doing, and so we are using so we have integrated the Pontem wallet on our web as such, and I think we are also listed on the Pontem wallet as well. But I also see, the as far as yield generation and yield vaults are concerned, I think that is the next level of cooperation that we would be looking to make with the Liquidswap
Yeah, that would
as
be
such.
great. For example, I can imagine already, for example, people wanting to come directly from ETH and start getting generating yield on APT, where on Liquidswap, so start to provide
Exactly.
liquidity, yeah, directly through the Kana app. That would be awesome.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And we're here to help in any point in the integration. And yeah, looking forward to more direct collaboration like that. Yeah, I've been looking through
Sure.
your app and really impressed with how much progress you've made, and the fact that you're the first one, at least that I've seen, that does these cross chain aggregations. Um, one of the
Mhm.
one of the challenges perhaps that I see, and also an opportunity for us to work together, is folks needing to have various different wallets to do these. So potentially, even with our wallet, we could support EVM chains as well, and that might make it easier, so people don't have to have various different wallets and switch between them.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, because a lot of the wallets are specific to specific networks, and even to be honest, even those wallets that are operate on different chain, I would call them as more as multi-chain wallets rather than cross-chain wallets. And I believe that there is a major difference between these two. You can be a multi-chain wallet wherein you simply list out all the networks, but all the networks, when you go inside those networks within that wallet, they operate separately and differently actually, which doesn't make too much sense as far as cross-chain transactions are concerned. What we should be in fact working on is what I would call as a cross-chain wallet, wherein the wallets can talk to each other. The different wallets on different networks can basically talk to each other and move. The users also can move across different networks, different wallets very smoothly in a seamless manner actually. So that I believe is what I would call as a cross-chain wallet as such. And yes, that is something that I believe for the wallets out there. I think that there's an opportunity out there
Yeah,
for that.
definitely. I guess I've been thinking a lot about this too. What you're thinking is probably like automatically switching the RPC endpoint, for example, passing the confirmation of the transactions as this does, and having this all be kind of like automated in the wallet as opposed to uh, having to switch between them. Is that kind of like what you have in mind?
Yes. Yes, exactly. In the sense that right now, for example, you say some wallet supports Aptos and Sui, but even when it supports, what happens is that I have to again sign the transactions on Aptos separately and Sui separately, even though it is the same wallet.
Right.
Okay, so this I would call as a multi-chain wallet as such. I wouldn't call it as a cross-chain wallet. What a cross-chain wallet is supposed to do is that if there's a cross-chain transaction between Aptos and Sui, the user should basically confirm it or sign it only once actually. Even though it might be across two networks, you should be basically signing it only once. As long as it is the same wallet, you should be able to sign it only once. And the rest should happen automatically behind the scenes within the same
Yeah,
wallet.
that makes that makes a lot of sense. We should definitely think through a little bit more. What might be some of the technical challenges there, like switching the RPC endpoint and maybe like having some sort of automatic approval of the transaction, or just having it be with one
Yes.
click you approve both, for example. And what that means for like a time, maybe
Mhm.
like a time like. But I think it's definitely possible if we've thought about it as well. So it would be great in collaboration with you and your
Mhm.
app
Mhm.
to make that use case happen. That would be awesome.
Sounds good.
Great.
Sounds good.
So we also have a few questions from the community here. Gonna pull them up now.
Okay.
Would be awesome for to
Sure.
hear from you on some of these. So
Sure.
one that's interesting is how did you choose the name Kana Labs? What's the backstory there?
Okay. Okay, so it is very simple actually, but I'm glad that you guys, one of your guys asked it because nobody has asked it before actually. It is very simple, nothing magical as such. As I said, we are a team based out of India, and in India there is a language called Tamil. TAMIL. It is our language, basically my mother tongue, basically. And in that language, the word Kana, Kana, means dream as such. So it was always our dream to build our own product, be known around the world, and things like that. So that is why we named it as Kana.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and yeah, I like how it's also native to you and has like real meaning and significance there.
Yes, yes, and thankfully it turned out, even though it was in a different language, it turned out to be a very short name and very easily pronounceable by a lot of people in the Western countries
Yes,
as well.
100%. As Pontem, which is Latin, I guess we definitely have that issue. Like, is it pronounced Pontem, Pontem? I don't even know. But yeah, kind of seems like easy to pronounce in all languages. So that's awesome.
Right.
This is a question that I like to ask. Kind of curious to hear your perspective. But what are your views on aliens? Are they real? Are they here? Um, yeah. So
Uh, uh, to be honest, I would have answered it differently probably 20 years ago when I used to watch the series on TV that was called The
yeah,
X
I remember that.
Files. I don't know how of you. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys out there know about X Files. I loved that series actually. That was only a very few, one of the very few series that you used to regularly watch. So at that point of time, I really believed that aliens were out there. But to be honest, a lot of our perceptions are driven by what we see and what we hear, and what we see in real, what we see on TV, and things like that. And seeing a lot of aliens on TV, in movies, in movies like Men in Black 1, 2, 3, Avatar, and things like that, I think it has basically dumbed down our imagination as such, of aliens as such, and made us at them as more comedical than something very serious as such. So if you ask me now, I would say that I do not believe it. At least they are not on Earth, at least. But probably somewhere far, far away, they probably
Yeah, it's
exist.
a that's a really good point. Even contentious based on the answers from others that they're not actually here. And yeah, it's like this
Right.
idea of an alien or like a foreign thing. We probably have it very very wrong as to like what it actually is. It's probably not what we've been shown.
Right. True. And as I said, so it is all driven by what we see, right, on TV, in movies, and things like that. Previously, they were treated very seriously in the movies and the serials and shows and things like that. But as the years passed on, they have been treated more and more in a comical manner, rather than in a very serious manner, at least for the last 10, 15
Yeah,
years at
definitely.
least.
Maybe connected, but also taking this a little bit off topic is what are your views on AI? Where is it going, and how prevalent is it going to be in our generation and maybe like 2 or 3 generations ahead, like your grandchildren?
Yeah, I believe it is here to stay. It has been doing its job. I think it has been developing coming along very nicely all around the world. The chat GPT that people are talking about at this point of time, to be honest, I haven't tried it. But the things that I've been listening about what it can do, basically boggles my mind. So yes, I think AI is here to stay. It will probably become even more developed in the coming years, this generation and the next generation. So again, going by the new movies, I think the movies have got AI much better, got AI right in a much better way than aliens as such. I think AI is going to get developed a lot in the coming years. But the sad part of it, in my opinion, is that as AI develops, the humans are going to become more and more dumb as such. Just like how, just like how smartphones haven't made the humans smarter, they have only made the humans dumber. In fact, nowadays people can't even remember a single
Yeah,
phone
that's true.
number actually. I know a lot of people who don't remember their phone, a single phone number, even their own phone numbers. Many people don't even remember their own phone numbers. In fact, so I believe the smartphones have made the people dumber. I believe AI is going to make the people even more dumber actually. And by people, I mean the common people, not the guys who actually work in that technology. They are definitely going to be very smart. But the common people are going to become so lazy, depending on this AI, just like how we depend on our smartphones now. They are going to become so dependent on the AI that they are going to become lazy, and they are going to become even more
Yeah,
dumber
I
as
definitely
such.
definitely hear you there. It's like this technology is just making it easier, our lives easier and easier to the point where we don't even have to try anymore. Like I imagine in the future, instead of going on the Kana app and clicking buttons to set a strategy, I can just tell the AI like, hey, I want I want relatively
Yes,
low risk, returns on my APT,
yes.
and then it'll set some strategies behind the scenes, and yeah, we don't have to think about it.
Yeah, to be honest, I believe that's what Chat GPT does at this point of time. That's what I was told. One of the guys whom I was speaking to was said that he came up with this trading strategy using Chat GPT. He simply set out the parameters to that tool basically, and it came out with a trading strategy.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to probably become more prevalent. And then at a certain point in time, there'll be a tipping point where humans are no longer even making the decisions themselves. It'll probably just be the AI itself making decisions. Yeah,
Exactly.
I guess to your point, maybe the human aspect will become less, less intelligent, and we'll become more dependent on these machines. But potentially there'll be like a merge of sorts. I don't know if you've seen the the latest updates on Neuralink and how they're now putting chips inside monkeys' brains, and they can type and potentially in the future even like look up information or store information with these brain
Oh, nice.
interfaces. So yeah, maybe over time the machine or the AI will just take over the human, and we'll just become like I don't even know, like a vehicle.
Yeah, that is, to be honest, that is a kind of risky aspect, right? If you think about it, yes, we need to be always better than the machines that we produce. If we are not, then it's going to be a risky.
Yeah, I really think the singularity is probably not too far away. I also think that crypto probably is a key key piece of it, whereas now machines can actually interact with each other and exchange value or pay each other for services um, over the
True.
internet, whereas previously you needed, some form of human or manual intermediary.
Interesting. Interesting. Now that is something that I haven't thought about, but it is very interesting. Yes, exactly. Yes, I
Yeah.
understand.
Awesome. So I know we only have a few minutes left. I want to open it up to the audience. If anybody on Twitter wants to come on, I'm not sure actually if I can do it on Discord right now, but yeah, if anybody on Twitter wants to come on and ask some questions, feel free to raise your hand and I'll put you up as a speaker. I don't know, Poca, if you're doing it, but I'll invite you to speak if you want to come up. And if not, we can also end it a bit early. And yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. This is a really interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it, and
Yes.
look forward to
Yes.
more. And yeah, a lot of the work that we described on working together. Let's definitely take that offline and see how we can collaborate on some of those features.
Sure, sure. Thanks a lot for having me. And to be honest, I'm quite proud to be a part of this actually, especially towards the end of this year. And Pontem was one of the teams that we looked up to when we entered into Aptos. And so I kind of feel proud to be a part of their conversations. Let us keep the conversations going between us internally as well. And I'm sure we will be able to come up with some very good
Definitely, and
products.
yeah, happy to have you be part of the family here, and bringing you up on these, and yeah, definitely having more of these. We go live twice a week, so definitely want to keep giving
Okay.
voices to the folks out there that are building and are going to be here for the long term. So yeah, really happy to have you on, and thank you so much for joining, and thank you everyone.
Thanks a lot. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks. Bye bye.